going on, everybody? Ethan here with Cigar Lounge, and we are in episode 2 of Cigar 101, How to Smoke a Cigar. Once we've chosen what we're going to smoke, in my case a Blackbird Crow, we first have to learn how we're going to cut the cigar. There's a few different ways that we can do this, but I'm going to talk about 3 main ones. First, it's just going to be a straight cut. It's just 2 blades, just form a nice straight line, just wet the cap of your cigar. You don't want to cut super deep. Right about there is where the cap ends. You want to cut just above that so it doesn't unravel on you. The same basic method can be applied to a V-cut, except for most V-cuts, they have a nice backstop on them, so you don't even have to worry about it. See? Just wet the cap on that, just place it in, cut, that's perfect. Has a backstop to it, you won't have to worry about it too much. Now the third way to cut a cigar is a punch cut. That's this little guy right here. And what you will do is you will just simply wet the cap of your cigar and you will just kind of wiggle it back and forth until you take a little nub out. I don't highly recommend these, but if you are in a pinch, they can work for you. And once you've cut your cigar, we now have to think about lighting the cigar. And there's just pretty much 2 different ways to do this, a jet flame and a soft flame. Now, most of us are familiar with a jet flame, how to light with it, but the same principle will apply to both. We're going to toast the cigar before we end up actually smoking it. Now, what I mean by toast is I just mean taking the flame. Here I have a nice little jet flame. And you're just going around the circumference of the foot of the cigar, lighting every bit of it before we start taking draws. This is going to allow us to know what all of the cigar we're actually lighting before we end up smoking it. Just so we don't have any uneven burns throughout the smoke, and it just leads to just a much better experience for everybody involved. See how nicely lit that entire cigar was? Just a quick toast and every single time. The other primary method of lighting the cigar is soft flame. It's a bit more labor intensive, but there's a reason some people still do it. Now, in essence, it's the same thing as using a jet flame. It just takes a lot longer because the flame is not nearly as hot. It's not nearly as bright. So the toasting process on this is a lot longer, but as it takes you a while to toast through that tobacco, you are really caramelizing that tobacco. And by the time you take that first puff, it can be 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes later. It's really something special, actually. It's really something special. Once your cigar is lit, it's pretty easy to maintain it. You might have to touch up the cigar occasionally. That's pretty much whenever one side of your cigar is just burning and uneven. You just take a torch and you just kind of touch it up a little bit. Don't go crazy, but just whatever is burning a little bit uneven is taking a little bit of time. Just burn it. I recommend taking a puff every 30-35 seconds. Don't puff on it too quickly. You'll find if you're smoking your cigar too fast, whenever you ash it, there will be a cone that kind of forms in the ash. It just means you're carbonizing the tobacco and you're just not getting flavor. Stop smoking it that fast and you won't have that issue. Your cigar ends up going out on you when you need to relight the cigar. I recommend just kind of torching it again at the foot, blowing out a few times, get all the impurities out, and then you should be good to start taking more puffs. There's no natural ending point to a cigar. If it still smokes, you can still smoke it. There's no such thing as smoking past the band. It's just all tobacco. You really shouldn't be knocking the ash off. Like you can see, this is not going anywhere. Okay, it's not ready to ash. Don't jam it in the ashtray. Don't pour liquid in it. Don't cut it in half when you're done smoking it to relight it later. It's not a good experience. Yeah, that's pretty much how I smoke a cigar.